So Govee just launched this brand new product that's meant to be an all-in-one solution, which not only includes a 5-meter LED strip, but also a complete diffuser system that has some brilliant design features that I'll get into later. In the box, you'll find everything that's laid out here. It's a lot to take in, but I'll go through each item along the way. Let's first begin with the LED strip, and these are going to have the same pixel density as their M1 at 60 LEDs per meter, but being that these are 24 volts, the individual diodes are going to be controlled in groups of 6. And it's also important to note that you are able to connect 2 of these strips together with one supply for a max length of 10 meters. As far as cut points, you'll find them around every 19.5 inches. I'll quickly get them plugged in and do some brief testing to make sure everything's working correctly. Next, we'll take a closer look at the diffuser channel. Each of their main sections, like I have here, is approximately 15.5 inches long and is made of plastic. The milky white covers match the length and can easily be snapped on like I'm doing here. And on the bottom of the channels, you have 2 3M sticky pads to secure to whatever surface they'll be installed on. Now, one of the things that's probably going to be a main selling point of these is the fact that they come with both inner and outer corner connection pieces, which for whatever reason is not something a lot of other companies are doing. How this works is you have 2 sections that are pre-cut at 45-degree angles that come together and fit the inner angle piece like I'm doing now. Then you have another set of slightly different pre-cut 45-degree angle tracks that'll work with the outer elbow connector. And in case you're wondering how many of these you get, it comes with the ability to do 2 inner and 2 outer corners if needed. Now, I've definitely cut my own 45-degree angles out of aluminum profiles in the past, and it's not that difficult, but having something like this just makes sense, and I really wish more companies would have this as an option. So moving on, one thing I quickly noticed is that there wasn't any 3M sticky tape on the back of the LED strip except for a little tiny section at the beginning and end. This brings me to the next design feature that I absolutely love. Instead of using the traditional sticky backing, they include these little plastic clips that snap in place at the bottom of the track to keep the strips flat and pressed down. Now, this might not seem like a cool feature at first, and it's actually a little bit more time consuming to install, but if you've ever tried removing a traditional strip from an aluminum profile, that strip will never be the same and will more than likely not be able to stick on its own again. This type of setup would allow me to reuse old LED strips over and over again without having to buy new ones due to lack of sticking. So at least for me, one of the most important things I'm looking for is if a channel can perfectly diffuse an LED strip so that there's no visible hotspots. And before getting these installed, let's quickly set up a couple sections to see how they perform. Now, hopefully this gives you a good idea of what you can expect, because they are 100% able to perfectly diffuse the lights to create a smooth neon glow with 0 hotspots, which is exactly what you want when trying to create some direct ambient lighting. Let's move on to actually getting these set up, and this ended up being the only spot in my house where I could take advantage of both inner and outer corner connectors. I'll start by putting the outer angle pieces up, and I'm going to be installing these on my baseboard, but obviously the wall would work just as well. Then I'll snap on the outer diffuser cover to make sure it's a good fit. Next, I'm going to take the inner corner track and mark off how much I need. I'll be using my miter saw to make the cut, but if you didn't have one of these, just use a regular handsaw. Once that's up, I can then place one of the other inner tracks up against it to complete the angle. I'm then going to make one more cut to get a piece to fit in the space I have left. From here, I now need to measure and cut some of the milky white covers to size, which can be done the same way with either a miter or regular handsaw. Now, this is probably about as complex of an install as you can possibly do with all the cutting, but there's going to be a lot of people that buy this that only want to have it set up on one wall and never need the corner pieces at all, or at most only use one if they want to cross over to a different plane. I'll get all the pieces installed, and so far everything's looking good, and bringing things in closer, you can see that despite all the different cuts, it's all lining up nicely. From here, I'm just going to put up the bottom tracks, make sure things are level, and cut things to fit the last corner. Now, before moving on, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Aura. So this is me signing up for their free 14-day trial, and during the setup process, one of the many things they do is scan the internet for data brokers that have your personal information. These data brokers then make a fortune selling your information to spammers, scammers, and other entities that want to know more about you. Now, Aura was able to find 30 such instances of my personal information being in the hands of these companies. Then, with one click, Aura sends out a notice to have my information removed from their systems, which they are legally required to do when asked. Their all-in-one platform offers antivirus protection, credit monitoring, credit lock, financial transaction alerts, secure VPN, identity protection, parental controls, 24/7 US-based customer service, and much, much more. I'll leave a link in the description for you to start your own free 14-day trial, so please make sure to check them out. Thank you all so much, and now back to the video. Next, I'm going to install the actual LED strip. I'm going to start at the end right here and work my way towards the beginning while using the snap-in clips to secure everything in place. Once that's done, I can then put on the milky white covers. And finally, at the start of the strip, I'll put on the beginning cap, connect the lights to the controller, and plug it in. Now, if I did want to tidy things up a little bit, I'd probably just use some cable concealer tracks to better hide the wires, and then put a plant in front of the outlet. And after all is said and done, I have the entire 5-meter strip installed, and here's what I have for leftovers. So that about does it for this one, and there's no doubt in my mind that Govee's going to sell a ton of these. I'll leave you some final videos of this in action, but as always, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a blessed day. Check. Test. Check. Test.